everyone, welcome back to my channel. So last night I posted a video talking about my favorite movies, and today I want to do a book related video. Some of you may know I have a second channel. It's actually my main channel. It's a lot smaller, but it is my main channel because I've had it for like 10 years at this point. I post music stuff on there, but I lately have been posting a lot of book content on there. And so yeah, I've been doing a lot of book stuff. But today I wanted to do a book-ish video for this channel, and I wanted to do my favorite books, but I don't have physical copies of all my favorite books. What I do have is I have the entire collection of Bret Easton Ellis. Okay, so I wanted to go over these books and maybe talk about my favorites, maybe put them in order of my most favorite to least favorite. He has one book that's like an essay collection, and I'm not gonna count that in this because it's so different. So I'm just gonna take that one out of the stack right now. So now we just have the novels. Actually, one is kind of a novel, one it's like half novel, half short story collection. It's kind of like, this is the book right here, The Informers. It's short stories, but they kind of make up a novel. I mean, he has some very loose plot novels to begin with. So I would compare this book to The Rules of Attraction, his second book. This is actually his third book. Yeah, I think, I could be wrong, but I think that this book came out before American Psycho. And now I'm questioning everything in my life. So I'll just go over the books. Now that they're not in order in my stack, I'm just gonna go out of order. So we have The Rules of Attraction. This is his second book. This is a college book. I think there's a name for it. A college novel? Something like that. I don't know. This is based on the school that he went to, which was Bennington, I think. And he's kind of a auto-fiction-y type writer to begin with. So he bases a lot of what he writes on his own life. And, you know, obviously not exactly. These aren't really necessarily true stories. They're just based around things from his real life. So yeah, this is actually one of my least favorite of his books, but if you've seen the movie that's based on this, it is a really fun, good movie. It came out in the early 2000s. This book came out in the mid-80s, I think. So it's a pretty short book. It's not long, but when I was reading it, it took me a while to get through it. I think this was the first book I started reading from him, but in between that time, I actually read another book from him, which was, let's see, Glamorama. I'm not really doing a lot of noises, tapping triggers, Glamorama, which is clearly bigger than the Rules of Attraction. As you can see, a little bigger. This book is actually, let's see, 546 pages long. So yeah, it's one of his bigger books. This book is crazy. I don't recommend this book to anyone with a sensitive stomach. However, if you like a crazy conspiracy story that doesn't make a lot of sense and is like very violent, you might like this book. This is one of my favorite books from him, but I don't know what's going on throughout the book. So it actually follows a character from the Rules of Attraction, Victor Ward. He went to college in the Rules of Attraction. Now he is a model. This takes place in the late 90s. He's a model and he lives in New York. The first half of this book takes place within the span of like a couple days, and it's him doing all these things. He has a ton of appointments. He's opening up a club in New York. He's doing a photo shoots. He's doing his workouts. He's meeting with his father. And he's like seeing these women. He's having affairs. And then in the second half of the book, it becomes this crazy, conspiratorial, I don't know if I want to say, because it's like, again, this is the second time I'm saying this. I want this to be like a somewhat family-friendly channel. I don't like necessarily want kids to watch these videos, but I also like eventually want to be monetized. So there's things I don't want to say on here, but there is TERRORISM in this book. It's actually the movie Zoolander kind of copied this book, and they actually were sued, I think. So it's kind of like that. Not exactly. I haven't seen Zoolander in a long time, so I don't remember exactly what happens in that movie, but the themes are similar. So this is definitely a book I want to reread at some point, but it's kind of a lot. I'm actually rereading right now 2 of these books. I'm reading Imperial Bedrooms, and I'm reading Lunar Park, which are another 2 of my favorites. So let's just do Lunar Park. Lunar Park is essentially a book about a man who is being haunted by his father. It's a fictionalized version of Ellis himself, and so the first chapter kind of goes through a quick, almost recap of his life from putting out his first books, becoming a huge author, his battles with addiction, and how he got to where he is for the rest of the book, which is married to an actress, and they have a son together, and then she has a daughter that he's also helping to raise. It takes place, kind of starts around Halloween and takes place throughout the end of that year, and it's a very chilling book. It really is. It's creepy, actually creepy, and throughout the book, his house starts slowly morphing into his childhood home, and the way that they depict that is really cool. It's kind of got a vague ending. A lot of these do as well. There's certain themes in his books that really run through all the books. So that's one of them. But this is a really great book. It's kind of a nod to Stephen King, which is an author I've never read. But yeah, I love this book. It's my second favorite of his books. The other book I'm rereading right now, I'm like halfway through it, is Imperial Bedrooms. This is his shortest novel, I think. Yeah, I think so. It's under 200 pages, and this is actually kind of a sequel to his first novel, Less Than Zero. You can't even see the title, but it's Less Than Zero. So maybe I should explain Less Than Zero first. So Less Than Zero takes place in high school, a real high school. Does it actually mention the high school? I think it does. Buckley, which is a real school in Sherman Oaks, California, and it's all these rich kids in the 80s. The thing I appreciate most about this book is just the atmosphere and the vibes. These are just apathetic teenagers, rich teenagers that don't care about anything, and that's the plot of the book. There's some violence in this book for sure, but it's not the most violent out of all these. It's tame comparatively to some of the other ones. It says, set in Los Angeles in the early 1980s, this coolly mesmerizing novel is a raw, powerful portrait of a lost generation. They have experienced sex, drugs, and disaffection at too early an age, and lived in a world shaped by casual nihilism, passivity, and too much money. That sums it up. So, in this book, this is kind of confusing, but hopefully you can follow along. The universe of this book is that this book is based on the real lives of the characters in this book. So the first line in this book is they wrote a book about us or something like that. Let me see. Oh, they had made a movie about us. The movie was based on a book written by someone we knew. So it's kind of interesting. These are supposed to be the real people behind that book. I prefer this book to that book. I think Less Than Zero, if you had to choose which one to read, I would probably say that one. But reading this one, I actually read this one first. And I just think that this is a funner, more exhilarating read. This is another one that's very conspiratorial and confusing, kind of like Glamorama. But basically in my reread, I'm figuring out that what it's about is these wealthy men in the movie industry who just are very territorial over the women, and they're all using each other. Everyone's using each other, and just kind of like what Hollywood is, and essentially. And the story behind this, if I'm not mistaken, is that it's based on the time where Ellis was working on the movie adaptation of this book, The Informers. And so all the drama behind that movie and the making of that movie. In this book, Clay, the main character, who is also the fictionalized main character in Less Than Zero, is an alcoholic. He's trying to get a movie made, and he kind of falls in love with this actress who wants to be in the movie, and the actress is not who he thinks she is. He doesn't really know her, and I think he acknowledges that, but there's a lot of darkness, things going on behind the scenes. So there's not too much violence in this book, except for there's one scene that takes place in Palm Springs, which is very hard to read. And in fact, the protagonist in this book is, I think, like one of his most evil characters, in my opinion. So I wouldn't recommend this book to anyone who doesn't want to read about what we're calling grape or torture, what we're calling schmorcher. Yeah. Okay, which ones? I've done this one and this one. Okay, we have 3 more books left. I mentioned this book because this is, again, the book that was being adapted, or based on this book being adapted. So this is The Informers. This is the short story collection. It's very thick pages in this one. Okay, so this is also set in the 80s. It follows a couple different families, the parents, the kids. It also follows a couple vampires, so that's fun. That was my favorite story, was the one about the vampires. There's not much to say about this. It kind of has some of the similar themes. There's Hollywood, there's cheating, all the negative things that you associate with like rich people in Hollywood, you know. Yeah, so there's not much to say about this one. The next 2 are bigger books. So I guess I'll start with probably his most famous book, his most infamous book, and that is, of course, American Psycho. This book comes in at 399 pages. So it's not his biggest book, but it's one of his biggest books. This book is about Patrick Bateman. Most of us, I assume, have seen the movie American Psycho. And it's just a wild ride from start to finish. It's very violent. I wouldn't say it's his most violent. I actually think that Glamorama is the most violent one, the one about the model. But this one is definitely a close second. And you could argue that this one is more violent. I just remember the violence of Glamorama so much more viscerally. So, you know, it's like an image-obsessed man on Wall Street who just is slowly going crazy. And part of it is that we don't know if he's actually doing the crimes that he's writing about. You know, it's up to the individual whether you think he is or not. But no one around him really notices. And I guess that's part of the point, is they're also wrapped up in their own image and their own, you know, self-absorption, I guess. It's a very funny book. There's a lot of funny parts, but there's also just a lot of meandering. This book took me a while to get through. This might have been the one that took me the longest to get through. There's whole entire chapters about just like music artists like Whitney Houston, Huey Lewis and the News, Phil Collins. Yeah, it's just, I wouldn't recommend this book unless you just want to try it, like just to say that you read it. But yeah, the last book I'm gonna go over is my favorite, and that is The Shards. This is his newest book and also his longest book. This book comes in at, let's see, 588 pages. Look at the cover, I love it. Okay, so this book only came out last year, I think. Maybe the year before. So this is, if I had to say, it's the most similar to Less Than Zero. It's kind of like Less Than Zero, except for there is a serial schmiller in the book. Well, we don't know for sure. A new kid comes to school. It's the same school as the one in Less Than Zero, Buckley. And our main character, Bret, thinks that he is not the person that everyone else thinks that he is. This book is so fun. It's very long, but it has a lot, okay? Obviously it has a lot. There's so many crazy fun scenes in this. There's parts that are genuinely scary. There's one scene in particular that I'm thinking of where, again, takes place in Palm Springs, and he is at, I think, like one of his family members' houses, and there's someone outside like watching him, and he's like hiding in the house and like trying to get out and stuff like that. That's just one scene, but this, I don't want to give too much away, but this is such a good book. This is like, I definitely want to read this at some point. Not right now because it's really big, but yeah, such a good book. Super, also this copy is just really great. It's really floppy and stuff. I didn't read this copy. I read a hardcover copy from the library. But yeah, these are the novels. And let me just rank them really quick. Okay, least favorites. I don't know if I have an exact, okay, actually I do. My least favorite is Rules of Attraction. My second least favorite is probably The Informers. My third, I'm gonna have to say American Psycho. And then the rest are ones that I really like that I'll have a hard time ranking. But I'm gonna put at 4 Glamorama. No. At 4 is Less Than Zero. 5 Glamorama. 6 Imperial Bedrooms. 7 Lunar Park. Look at this beautiful cover. I love this. And 8 My Baby, The Shards. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. If you read any of these books, let me know. Let me know your favorite or how you feel. And I'll see you in the next one, which will probably hopefully be a role play or like a triggery type video. But yeah, thanks for watching. Mwah.